The Book of Ruth. Ruth, chapter 1. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled, that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left, and her 2 sons. And they took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years. And Mahlon and Chilion died, also both of them. And the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. Wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they went on the way to return unto the land of Judah. And Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law,
Go, return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as ye have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant you that ye may find rest, each of you, in the house of her husband.
Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept. And they said unto her,
Surely we will return with thee unto thy people.
And Naomi said,
Turn again, my daughters. Why would you go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? Turn again, my daughters. Go your way, for I am too old to have an husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should have an husband also tonight, and should also bear sons, would ye tarry for them till they were grown? Would you stay for them from having husbands? Nay, my daughters, for it grieveth me much for your sakes, that the hand of the Lord is gone out against me.
And they lifted up their voice and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her. And she said,
Behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people, and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law.
And Ruth said,
Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. Where thou diest will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me.
When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her. So they 2 went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass, when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved about them. And they said,
Is this Naomi?
And she said unto them,
Call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then call ye me Naomi, seeing the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me?
So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab. And they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of barley harvest. Ruth, chapter 2. And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi,
Let me now go to the field, and glean ears of corn after him in whose sight I shall find grace.
And she said unto her,
Go, my daughter.
And she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and her hap was to light on a part of the field belonging unto Boaz, who was of the kindred of Elimelech. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem and said unto the reapers,
The Lord be with you.
And they answered him,
The Lord bless thee.
Then said Boaz unto his servant that was set over the reapers,
Whose damsel is this?
And the servant that was set over the reapers answered and said,
It is the Moabitish damsel that came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab. And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came, and hath continued even from morning until now, that she tarried a little in the house.
Then said Boaz unto Ruth,
Hearest thou not, my daughter? Go not to glean in another field, neither go from hence, but abide here fast by my maidens. Let thine eyes be on the field that they do reap, and go thou after them. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee? And when thou art athirst, go into the vessels, and drink of that which the young men have drawn.
Then she fell on her face and bowed herself to the ground and said unto him,
Why have I found grace in thine eyes, that thou shouldest take knowledge of me, seeing I am a stranger?
And Boaz answered and said unto her,
It hath fully been showed me all that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law since the death of thine husband, and how thou hast left thy father and thy mother, and the land of thy nativity, and art come unto a people which thou knewest not heretofore. The Lord recompense thy work, and a full reward be given thee of the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings thou art come to trust.
Then she said,
Let me find favor in thy sight, my Lord. For that thou hast comforted me, and for that thou hast spoken friendly unto thine handmaid, though I be not like unto one of thine handmaidens.
And Boaz said unto her,
At mealtime come thou hither, and eat of the bread, and dip thy morsel in the vinegar.
And she sat beside the reapers, and he reached her parched corn, and she did eat, and was sufficed, and left. And when she was risen up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying,
Let her glean even among the sheaves, and reproach her not. And let fall also some of the handfuls of purpose for her, and leave them, that she may glean them, and rebuke her not.
So she gleaned in the field until even, and beat out that she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. And she took it up and went into the city, and her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned, and she brought forth and gave it to her that she had reserved after she was sufficed. And her mother-in-law said unto her,
Where hast thou gleaned today? And where wroughtest thou? Blessed be he that did take knowledge of thee.
And she showed her mother-in-law with whom she had wrought, and said,
The man's name with whom I wrought today is Boaz.
And Naomi said unto her daughter-in-law,
Blessed be he of the Lord, who hath not left off his kindness to the living and to the dead.
And Naomi said unto her,
The man is near of kin unto us, one of our next kinsmen.
And Ruth the Moabitess said,
He said unto me also, Thou shalt keep fast by my young men until they have ended all my harvest.
And Naomi said unto Ruth her daughter-in-law,
It is good, my daughter, that thou go out with his maidens, that they meet thee not in any other field.
So she kept fast by the maidens of Boaz to glean unto the end of barley harvest and of wheat harvest, and dwelt with her mother-in-law. Ruth chapter 3. Then Naomi her mother-in-law said unto her,
My daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well with thee? And now is not Boaz of our kindred, with whose maidens thou wast? Behold, he winnoweth barley tonight in the threshing floor. Wash thyself, therefore, and anoint thee, and put thy raiment upon thee, and get thee down to the floor. But make not thyself known unto the man until he shall have done eating and drinking. And it shall be, when he lieth down, that thou shalt mark the place where he shall lie, and thou shalt go in and uncover his feet, and lay thee down, and he will tell thee what thou shalt do.
And she said unto her,
All that thou sayest unto me, I will do.
And she went down unto the floor, and did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of corn, and she came softly and uncovered his feet, and laid her down. And it came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid, and turned himself, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. And he said,
Who art thou?
And she answered,
I am Ruth, thine handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thine handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman.
And he said,
Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast showed more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, inasmuch as thou followest not young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, fear not. I will do to thee all that thou requirest. For all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman. And now it is true that I am thy near kinsman. Howbeit there is a kinsman nearer than I. Tarry this night, and it shall be in the morning, that if he will perform unto thee the part of a kinsman, well, let him do the kinsman's part. But if he will not do the part of a kinsman to thee, then will I do the part of a kinsman to thee, as the Lord liveth. Lie down until the morning.
And she lay at his feet until the morning, and she rose up before one could know another. And he said,
Let it not be known that a woman came into the floor.
Also he said,
Bring the veil that thou hast upon thee, and hold it.
And when she held it, he measured 6 measures of barley, and laid it on her, and she went into the city. And when she came to her mother-in-law, she said,
Who art thou, my daughter?
And she told her all that the man had done to her. And she said,
These 6 measures of barley gave he me, for he said to me, Go not empty unto thy mother-in-law.
Then said she,
Sit still, my daughter, until thou know how the matter will fall. For the man will not be in rest until he have finished the thing this day.
Ruth chapter 4. Then went Boaz up to the gate, and sat him down there. And behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said,
Ho, such a one! Turn aside, sit down here.
And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city, and said,
Sit ye down here.
And they sat down. And he said unto the kinsman,
Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land, which was our brother Elimelech's. And I thought to advertise thee, saying, Buy it before the inhabitants, and before the elders of my people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know. For there is none to redeem it beside thee, and I am after thee.
And he said,
I will redeem it.
Then said Boaz,
What day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth, the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance.
And the kinsman said,
I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it.
Now this was the matter in former time in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changing. For to confirm all things, a man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony in Israel. Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz,
Buy it for thee.
So he drew off his shoe. And Boaz said unto the elders and unto all the people,
Ye are witnesses this day, that I have bought all that was Elimelech's, and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth, the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren. And from the gate of his place ye are witnesses this day.
And all the people that were in the gate and the elders said,
We are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is come into thine house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel. And do thou worthily in Ephratah, and be famous in Bethlehem.
And let thy house be like the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman.
So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went in unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. And the women said unto Naomi,
Blessed be the Lord, which hath not left thee this day without a kinsman, that his name may be famous in Israel. And he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life, and a nourisher of thine old age. For thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, hath borne him.
And Naomi took the child, and laid it in her bosom, and became nurse unto it. And the women her neighbors gave it a name, saying,
There is a son born to Naomi.
And they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. Now these are the generations of Pharez. Pharez begat Hezron, and Hezron begat Ram, and Ram begat Amminadab, and Amminadab begat Nahshon, and Nahshon begat Salmon, and Salmon begat Boaz, and Boaz begat Obed, and Obed begat Jesse, and Jesse begat David.
Storm's coming, Naomi. I'm going out to the fields. I need your help. Quickly. Now.
The wind's blowing too hard, Father.
Don't give up. You must save the grain. I've got it. Hold the stake straight.
All right, hurry, hurry.
Hold on! No!
Father, we can hold it down. The wind, Father! Papa!
Oh no! The grain is gone! It's gone. It's all gone.
Easy, boy, easy.
I hate to see you leave, Elimelech.
Perhaps we'll return when this famine is over.
Listen, we never knew each other very well, but we are related. I want to help.
No. But thank you.
Look, somehow I've done well during the famine.
I appreciate your kind offer, Boaz, but I've never taken a handout, and I don't intend to start now.
Godspeed, Elimelech.
Who was that?
Boaz, a kinsman of mine, just wanted to say goodbye.
And so Elimelech, Naomi, and their 2 sons left their home in Bethlehem. Soon they arrived in the land of Moab, where they found relief from the famine. However, shortly thereafter, Elimelech died. Naomi's 2 sons grew older and eventually married Moabite women named Orpah and Ruth. As Moabites, they knew very little of the God of Israel, the God of Naomi and her sons. But they were good and kind, and Naomi loved them very much. Then, in the midst of this new life, tragedy struck again. Naomi's 2 sons also took ill and died. Now 3 widows faced the future alone, together.
I've decided to return to Bethlehem, and I want you to go back to your families.
What?
No, Mother. Please, do it for me.
We've always obeyed your wishes, but we can't let you live alone.
Bethlehem is no place for 2 Moabite women. My people will not accept you. You'll be strangers there.
As you were a stranger here.
Don't you understand? It's my fault that you've been hurt. The Lord has punished me.
That's not true. Your God is good. You are good.
If you love me, you'll do as I have asked. Go, return to your own people.
Don't ask me to leave you. For where you go, I will go. Where you live, I will live. And where you die, I will die. For your people are my people, and your God is my God.
I love you.
Everything this woman has is here. She has nothing else.
I will do my best to get her a good price.
What?
There's my cousin Jabesh.
That's no surprise.
Excuse me, can we start the auction? Some of us have work to do.
Very well. When a man dies...
Oh, not another lecture on the law.
And leaves behind a woman such as this, the brother of the dead man should marry her and care for her. Such are the commandments of God.
Excuse me.
However, this woman has no kinsman, and now she is left with nothing. She comes before you now to sell all that she owns. Please, be as generous as possible.
First up for sale is this poor widow's land.
10,000 shekels?
Brother Jabesh, that is very generous indeed.
I like to help where I can.
What he'd like is to buy up Bethlehem and put everyone else out of business.
Very well. 10,000 shekels going once.
I think I'll have a little fun.
10,000 shekels going twice. And
12,000 shekels.
12,000 shekels. Going once. 12,000 shekels going twice.
12,000. And 5 shekels.
14,000 shekels.
Careful.
Don't worry. I know my cousin's greed all too well. He won't let that land slip away.
14,000. And 3 shekels.
18,000 shekels.
Master, you can't afford it.
I know that, but he doesn't.
All right. You've got yourself into a pickle now, Cousin Boaz. And I, for one, want to see how you get yourself out of it.
18,000 shekels going once. 18,000 shekels going twice. And 18,000 going...
15,001!
Boaz?
Cousin Jabesh, your charity has no end.
Wherever you go, I'll follow. I'll never leave you alone. To me, you've been more than a mother, given love like no other. Now you are my home. For you, I'll bear any burden. Your worries will be my own. I've been blessed by your care. I'm loved like so very few are, for you are my home. Windows, walls, and ceilings, timbers, tiles, and stones, only make a dwelling. It's you that makes this house a home. Wherever you go, I'll follow. I'll never leave you alone. To me, you've been more than a mother, given love like no other. Now you are my home. I've watched you and learned what love is, and I've thought as our love has grown, heaven smiles on us both, for no one is as close as we two are, for you are my home.
Good morning. You're up early. Oh, thank you for letting me come with you.
Oh, Ruth, you are so good. Where are you going?
To find some food. Stay and rest. I'll be back.
Oh, Lord, please bless her. If there's any way to save her from this poverty, do it, Lord.
Bring the bundles of grain over here.
I wouldn't ask for myself, but my mother-in-law, she's very old.
There's no need to apologize. I know Master Boaz would want to help you. You see those women there? They're gleaners. Many of them are widows like yourself. Follow them and you can gather up all the loose grain you see.
Daniel.
Oh. Her.
Hello. I wanted to tell you that, well, that you're welcome here.
Thank you, sir.
When you drink a need, when you need a drink, go to the well. My men will draw it for you.
I am a Moabite. They may not want to.
Well, that doesn't matter. I've ordered them to treat you kindly. Welcome. My servants told me how you gave up your home and your own people for the sake of your mother-in-law. I think that's very kind. May God bless you for it.
Thank you.
This woman has special needs. Let some extra grain fall for her. Better yet, tell her she can just harvest some of her own. No, you cut some down and bundle it up for her. And if anyone mistreats her, they'll have me to deal with. Tell the men that.
All of this in one day.
The man who owned the field was very kind. He let me take all that I wanted, and then he invited me to eat with him. I think the others were very surprised.
Who was it? What was his name?
Boaz.
Boaz.
You know him?
Ruth, darling. He is my nearest kinsman.
Oh, then he must marry you.
No, not me. He must marry you.
Me?
He's your nearest kinsman, too. Well, what are you waiting for? Go tell him. Tell him that he's the nearest kinsman.
But I don't want to force him to marry me.
Ruth, it's his duty.
Master Boaz?
Yes, Ruth?
Nice day, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it is. She knows I love her. That's why she's so kind. She feels sorry for me. Me, an old man. How foolish I was to think that she could fall in love with me. But if I don't ask her, I'll never know. All she can do is say no. I'll ask her to marry me. I will. Good morning.
What could he ever see in me? Him with his land and fine clothes. And me, a Moabite with nothing. When he looks at me, I'm sure he sees nothing but a child. But I did promise Naomi. She's done so much for me. I'll tell him he's my near kinsman. I will. Oh, good night.
Did you tell him?
It didn't come up.
Ruth, darling, you have to bring it up.
Oh, I know.
Good morning, Jabesh.
It is. The harvest is in, and I'm in a generous mood. Any poor who need help? Any more widows putting up, various items for sale?
Land, you mean?
Oh, doesn't have to be land. Could be land. Doesn't have to be. Why? Is there someone selling land?
Not at the present moment.
Well, it's been nice chatting with you. Bye.
me why I have to talk to him tonight.
Because it's your last chance. The harvest is through and the gleaning is done. When would you see him again?
But the harvest party is for the workers.
All you have to do is get his attention. If you won't do it for yourself, then do it for me.
Boaz, where are you going?
I'll be right back. Eat up. There's plenty more food.
Boaz?
Ruth.
Oh, I'm sorry to come here like this. Please don't think evil of me.
No, it's all right.
I came to tell you, or to ask you. You are a near kinsman to me.
I'm, what?
Oh, a near kinsman to me.
You know what that means?
Yes. Do you?
Yes. Will you?
Will I?
Will you?
Yes.
Oh, Ruth.
What's wrong?
There is a nearer kinsman than I. It's my cousin, Jabesh. But I don't think he... Unless you have anything of worth.
I'm worthless.
No. You're priceless.
Boaz! Where are you?
Tomorrow morning?
It's urgent, Joshua, please.
It isn't easy to call the elders together, Boaz. Now, if you could tell me what all this is about.
I'm getting married. I mean, I think I am.
You're not sure?
No, I want to marry Ruth, but Jabesh is the nearest kinsman.
I think you may have a problem. Naomi's husband, Elimelech, gave this to me before he left Bethlehem. It's the deed to a plot of land. A huge plot of land. If he wants it, everything belongs to Jabesh.
He'll marry her.
Oh, I don't think so.
No, he will. He'll marry her just to get the land.
Maybe not. Maybe he'll
Don't you see? Jabesh lives for land, because land means money. And money is all he cares about. Jabesh, the widow Naomi recently returned to Bethlehem.
What's that got to do with me?
She's selling a parcel of land.
Land?
I want to buy it, but we've discovered that, well, that you are the nearest kinsman.
Yes. Oh, well, very well. I'm happy to help the poor widow out. How much?
Well, then you want the land? Because if you don't, I'm willing to buy it.
Oh, because if you don't, I'm willing to buy it. I'm sorry, Boaz, old cousin. It's mine.
You do understand. You're the nearest kinsman. If you accept the land, you must take everything that comes with it.
Bring it on! Bring it on! I can afford it all.
Congratulations, Cousin Jabesh. This is your new wife.
My new what?
Your wife. She's a widow, but you're the nearest kinsman. Oh, you'll also have Naomi as a mother-in-law.
Mother in what?
They'll both be needing some new clothes, of course. Oh, and they'll need separate rooms. I guess you'll have to buy a larger house.
A larger house?
Oh, don't worry. Give Ruth a few thousand shekels and she'll have it decorated in no time.
A few This is an outrage. I'm not even married and I'm already broke.
Wait until you have 6 or 7 children. That's the expensive part.
Cousin Boaz, help me. I can't afford a family. I have my money to think about. You take her.
Done.
So Boaz took Ruth the Moabite, and they were married. And it came to pass that Ruth bore a son, and they called him Obed. Ruth's loyalty and courage was the beginning of Israel's greatest age. Her son Obed became the father of Jesse, who was the father of David, the king who united Israel in righteousness.
Ruth, a faithful woman. For 10 years, Naomi, an Israelite from Judea, had lived in the land of Moab. She had come to this land with her husband Elimelech and their 2 sons because of a famine in Judea. Not long after their arrival, Elimelech had died. Then her sons had married 2 young women of Moab, Orpah and Ruth. Not long after their marriage, Naomi's 2 sons also had died. And now she was preparing to return to Judea because she had heard that the Lord was again giving her people plenty of food, and she wanted to be back in her homeland. Ruth and Orpah planned to go along with Naomi, for both girls loved their mother-in-law. She had always been kind to them and had taught them to worship the true God instead of the idols of the Moabites. So the 3 of them got ready for the journey to Bethlehem. But before they had gone very far, Naomi came to a decision. Why should her daughters-in-law leave their own country? Perhaps the people in Bethlehem would not welcome them, being widows and foreigners. And so Naomi spoke to them.
Please go back, both of you, to your own homes. And may the Lord be kind to you as you were to the dead and to me. And may he give each of you a good home.
No, we're going with you to your people.
Go back, my daughters. Why should you go with me? Do I have any more sons who could marry you? And even if I should marry again and have sons, would you wait for them to grow up? No. No. I'm sorry that the Lord has sent me all this trouble. Your sister-in-law is going back to her people. Go with her.
Don't ask me to leave you. Wherever you go, I want to go. And where you stay, I want to stay. Your people shall be my people. And your God, my God. I want to die where you die. And there I'll be buried. May the Lord punish me if I let anything but death come between us.
When Naomi realized how deeply Ruth loved her, she thanked God for having given her such a loyal daughter to help make up for the loss of her husband and 2 sons. So Ruth and Naomi continued on their journey. When the women came to the land of Canaan, Naomi was glad to be back in her homeland again.
This is the country which the eternal God promised to Abraham and his descendants.
It is now my country, too.
Naomi had changed in the 10 years she had been away from Bethlehem. But when she came to the well outside the village, some of her old friends recognized her and greeted her warmly.
Is this really Naomi, the pleasant one?
Do not call me the pleasant one. Call me Mara, the bitter one, for I have a bitter sorrow. My husband and my sons are dead. But Ruth, my son's wife, has chosen to come here with me, for she worships the God of Israel.
Naomi's friends welcomed Ruth, somewhat coldly at first, but soon she would receive a special blessing from the Lord in this country of Judea. In order to find food for herself and Naomi, Ruth went out to the barley fields. For in those days, it was the custom of Hebrew landowners to leave some stalks of grain for the poor people to gather. Now the field where Ruth gathered grain was one belonging to a man named Boaz. And when he came out to his field and saw her there, he asked his overseer about her.
Who is this young woman?
She's the one who came back with Naomi from Moab. She said, "Please let me gather grain from the sheaves." And she's been working from early morning until now.
Ruth had seen Boaz at the edge of the field and had decided who he was because of his fine clothes and the way he spoke with the overseer. Now Boaz walked over to her.
Don't go and gather grain in any other field. You may stay in this one. Stay with my women workers. When you are thirsty, go to the water jars and drink.
Why are you so kind to me, a foreigner?
I've heard of all you've done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband, how you left your mother and your father and the country where you were born and came to a people you did not know. May the Lord reward you for what you've done. May the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come for shelter, fully repay you.
You are most kind, my lord, for you have helped me, even though I'm not one of your servants.
From the moment of her meeting with Boaz, Ruth was treated with great kindness. At noon, she was invited to sit with the workers and was given all the food she wanted. And Boaz even gave orders to his workers to pull out some stalks from the bundles so that there would be plenty of barley for Ruth to gather. By the end of the day, she had gathered almost a bushel of grain, enough food for many days. That evening, when Ruth came home, she told Naomi all that had happened, how the owner of the field had been kind to her. And when Naomi heard that it was Boaz, she was very pleased.
Oh, may the Lord bless Boaz for his kindness. The man is a close relative who may help us.
Then he also said to me, "You may stay near my servants until they have harvested all my grain."
It is well, my daughter.
So Naomi encouraged Ruth to go to the fields belonging to Boaz. Ruth faithfully worked in the fields every day, and every evening she brought home a good supply of grain to her mother-in-law. At the end of the harvest season, Naomi's thoughts turned to the future of her loyal, unselfish daughter-in-law.
My daughter, should I not try to find a good home for you? Is not Boaz, with whose servants you have been working, a relative? Tonight he threshes barley on the threshing floor. Wash and anoint yourself and put on your best clothes and go down to the threshing floor and see Boaz.
From the kindness that Boaz had shown to Ruth, Naomi knew that he respected and admired her. Now Naomi felt that the time had come for Ruth to tell him that he was a close relative. For according to the Hebrew law, the closest male relative was to take care of the widows. Following Naomi's suggestion, Ruth went to Boaz, asking him to take care of her because he was her relative. And Boaz was quick to answer her.
Have no fear. I'll do all that you ask, for everyone knows you're a good woman. It's true, I am a close relative. But there's a relative who's closer than I. If he will help you, well, let him do it. But if he isn't willing, then as the Lord lives, I will gladly do it with my whole heart.
In this way, Boaz promised Ruth that if the man who was her closest relative would not marry her, he wanted her to be his wife. Then Boaz gave Ruth a gift of grain for Naomi to show that he also intended to take care of her. And Ruth hurried home to tell Naomi all that Boaz had said. The next day, Boaz lost no time in meeting with Naomi's closer relative. And according to the custom of the day, he asked 10 elders of the city to be present at their meeting.
Naomi has come back from Moab and is selling the land that belonged to our relative, Elimelech. I thought I would tell you about it and say, buy it in the presence of the elders of my people. If you want it, take it. But if you do not, then tell me, since after you, I am her closest relative.
I will buy it.
But if you buy the land from Naomi, you must also take Ruth, the Moabite woman, as your wife, so that her children may inherit the land.
No wonder the other close relative hesitated. If he married this Moabite woman and a son were born, the property would go to that son and not to his own children. So the man who was the nearest relative decided what to do.
I can't buy it for myself without hurting my own inheritance. You may have it.
Then the man took off his sandal and gave it to Boaz to show that Boaz had the right to buy the land and also to marry Ruth. In that way, the matter was legally settled. So Boaz married Ruth and also took Naomi into his home. In the course of time, a son was born to Ruth and Boaz, and it was Naomi's privilege and joy to help take care of the child.
Now God has given me another son.
Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you without a son. May his name be famous in Israel. He will renew your life and bring you happiness in your old age. For he is the child of your daughter-in-law who loves you, who is better to you than 7 sons.
Ruth had indeed been as much of a help and comfort to Naomi as many sons would have been. And Ruth was richly rewarded, also in a spiritual way that only the future would reveal. For the child in her arms, named Obed, would one day have a son of his own, named Jesse, who would be the father of the great King David, the ancestor of the Messiah.
God became flesh, 'cause the object of his work is not the spirit of Satan, nor anything not of flesh, but man. Man's flesh was corrupted by Satan, and so became the object of God's work. The place of God's salvation is man, Man is a mortal being, only flesh and blood, and God alone can save him. God must take on man's flesh and all that man is in order to do his work, to achieve the best result. God must take on flesh, because man is flesh, who cannot overcome sin. God must take on flesh, because man is flesh, who cannot free himself from the bondage of the flesh. When God works in flesh, he's really fighting Satan. His work in the realm of the Spirit becomes practical. It's real on earth in flesh.
The one that God conquers is disobedient man, while in mankind Satan's defeated. And ultimately, the one who is saved is man,
It was necessary for God to become a man and take on a creature's shell to do battle with Satan and conquer mankind, rebellious in his creature's shell.
It was necessary for God to become a man and take on a creature's shell to save mankind, who wears the same outer shell, but who has been harmed by Satan, who has been harmed by Satan.
Man is God's enemy, God must conquer him. Man is God's object of salvation, God must take on flesh and become a man. In this way his work is made easier. God can defeat Satan